Chapter 22, Part 1. Two Pieces of Wool. By Jing intends to untie the one with the skylight open first. After several cuts of this semi-bet wool material, only about 3 or 4 centimeters of thickness remained. Master Xiesher was about to get started when Bai Jing said softly, "Master, let me solve it myself." He had tested this piece of wool with his senses, and only the thin layer near the window had green on the cut surface, which was almost as green as the leather. But if it is possible, he still wants to solve it, even if it is only a little jade. The automatic stone cutter placed on the table is about 50 centimeters high. The height can be adjusted up and down, and the whole body is white. The fuselage is made of very light polymer material, which is light and flexible as a whole and easy to operate. Bai Jing fiddled a few times, and then understood the operation method. He erected the flat piece of wool, pressed the induction button, and the mechanical grippers on both sides automatically fixed the wool firmly without any shaking. Although his learning speed is fast, people around him still see that he is a novice and can't help but whisper. The stone cutting tool uses laser cutting technology and is also equipped with an automatic infrared recognition system. As long as a line is drawn on the wool material with a special material, the cutting point can be automatically identified so that the laser knife can be used for fast cutting, which is simple and fast. In such a high-tech era, calcite is not difficult, but the most difficult thing is how to identify the direction of the jade inside the wool and accurately draw the cutting line. It is necessary to ensure that 1 or 2 knives are green, and at the same time, the jade meat inside is not damaged. This is the time to test experience and eyesight. In order to maintain the feel of the hand, many calcite masters do not use the infrared recognition system to locate, but use a laser knife to manually cut it, so that if something is wrong, such as green, in the middle, it can be corrected in time. After Bai Jing fixed the wool, he drew a line less than 1 centimeter away from the window and pressed the cut button. The laser knife does not have a blade, only a blue laser beam, glowing with a faint cold light, like a sharp blade in the hands of a swordsman. The blade pierced straight into the fur skin, and with one knife it split the flat wool into 2 pieces. Everyone hurriedly looked closer, or looked up at the projection screen, and saw that the cutting line was drawn extremely accurately. The part of the wool with the skylight has a smooth and flat cut surface, showing a bright green color without a trace of cracks, while the other half is covered with small cracks. This knife actually completely separated the crack. Everyone was dumbfounded, and even Master Xiesher looked at Bai Jing with some admiration. Even he might not be able to cut so accurately. The wool dealer was also quite shocked. Could it be that this young man is still a master? But thinking of the other party's unfamiliar operation, maybe it's a coincidence. Little master, your technique is really good. However, this wool material is a gamble, right? The wool merchant looked at Bai Jing mockingly, but there was a little bit of joy in his heart. Fortunately, he didn't buy this piece of wool. No matter how well it was cut, it was a green leather with only a thin layer, and there were more than 2,000 or 3,000 star coins. Oh, it's still broken. The 30,000 star coins are all gone. This young master is still too young, and the wool merchants don't ask for prices. What can he do? The onlookers shook their heads. Up to now, this half-gambling wool material worth 1.5 million is no longer in suspense, and it simply cannot collapse anymore. The angle of the skylight was so clever that it just pierced the topmost intact jadeite, creating the illusion that there was no crack. In fact, the bottom half was full of cracks, and only such a piece of leather green could be solved. When they were about to leave, they found that the boy put the cut wool aside and fixed the scrap on the stone cutter. I still don't give up. This is the unanimous thought in everyone's mind. Bai Jing did not make a one-size-fits-all cut like just now, but drew a line 1 centimeter away from the cut. The piece of jade just now was too much broken due to the cracking of the locks. If it is not carefully cut, I am afraid that even a thin layer cannot be cut out, and it will immediately become worthless. In that case, he had no choice but to cut the mess with a quick knife, and cut it out without hurting the flesh as much as possible. 2,000 star coins are also star coins and must not be wasted. But this time, he could no longer be suspicious. As the blue laser beam fell, the cut, unsurprisingly, was a white flowered stone. Everyone couldn't help shaking their heads, and the wool merchant sneered disdainfully and almost wrote the word contempt on his face. Jin Mao and Ngu were equally nervous in their hearts. As Bai Jing's friends, Of course, they hoped that the other party could solve jade and beat them hard in the face. Not to mention that this is also related to the betting rate that stone gamblers value the most. As a huge organization second only to the Imperial Army, the Stone Gambling Guild has the right to access the optical brain transaction records. All wools sold within the Empire must be registered with the corresponding number, and their holographic projections must be entered into the system database. In any process of buying wool and selling wool, every transaction will be completely counted, and then the betting rate will be automatically calculated. In the past, some disciples of aristocratic families used the rules to cheat and let their own people buy jadeite at a high price, but they were detected by a quantum analyzer, and the person was given a punishment of depriving him of his status as a stone gambler and banning stone gambling for life. Since then, no one dared to challenge the authority of the Stone Gambling Association easily. If Bai Jing loses his bet, he will definitely reduce the betting rate, which is very unfavorable for him who is just starting out. The blue laser knife radiated cold light again, and the second knife fell and cut off about 1 centimeter in thickness, and the exposed cut surface was still a white stone. Oh, it's just a piece of scrap. Just cut a knife from the middle. It's boring. I can't cut green again. I walked away. That is, there is nothing to see in a piece of scrap. It is better to pick one by yourself. After 2 consecutive cuts, no green came out. Many people had long been impatient and left the store in 2s and 3s and walked towards the next store. Wang Ping's always smiling face also became anxious. He had just cut a piece of wool worth more than 1 million yuan, which has already driven customers away. If this piece of scrap is cut down again, how can his shop do business? Ugh. Bai Jing ignored the reactions of others and continued to cut the third knife. Look, it's green. Big rise. Absolutely big rise. It's amazing. Who would have expected jadeite to be produced from a piece of scrap? It's up. It's up. Seeing Chulu, the stall owner, Wang Ping breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly shouted. The people who hadn't gone far heard the voice and returned immediately, even more people than before, almost filling the entire store, making Wang Ping's eyes wide with a smile. The surface of this wool material has no cracks and ringworms, and there is basically no possibility of internal damage. As long as it does not rely on the green skin, it is an absolute surge. Seeing the green, Bai Jing turned off the button of the laser knife and replaced it with a grinding wheel. This grinding wheel is very small, and the handle is equipped with a miniature force sensor, which will soften and adjust the force. As long as you are careful, you will never hurt the flesh inside. The grinding wheel adopts nanoparticle technology. When Bai Jing touches the surface of the wool material, it will grind off the surrounding gravel without much force, and there will be no vibration in the hand, which is very comfortable. The polished gravel is all turned into granules and falls vertically, and there is an automatic cleaning tool below to clean up the debris, so that it will not fall on the operator at all. As the surrounding leather shells were constantly rubbed off, part of the jade inside was removed, and the stone master drenched some water on it, so that everyone could see it more clearly. My God! It is the hibiscus species second only to the ice species. It's so beautiful. It's so clear that there's no trace of impurities, and it's not much better than the ice seeds. Miracle, it's a miracle. $1 million hibiscus jadeite was found out of a piece of worthless scrap. Isn't this a miracle? The woolen trader, who was still mocking before, stared at the exposed cut surface. His eyes were straight, and he looked unbelievable. He never imagined that the hibiscus jadeite, second only to the ice seed, could be produced from a piece of scrap. Thinking that he was still smugly taunting the other party just now, he couldn't help blushing, as if he had been slapped several times in succession, which was very embarrassing. After being embarrassed, he suddenly thought of something. His face turned pale in an instant, and his body began to shake. It was him. He personally delivered this piece of wool to the boy. If you spend 60,000 star coins to buy those scraps, wouldn't this hibiscus jadeite be yours? In vain, he still haggled, boasting a vicious eye, and it turned out that the most stupid person was himself. At this moment, endless regret and unwillingness drowned him like a tide, and he finally felt a stronger sense of loss than Bossu, which was really miserable. The rest of the wool merchants glanced at him disdainfully and immediately distanced themselves from him. They still want to get this piece of hibiscus, but they don't want to annoy the owner of the wool. Seeing that jadeite has already been solved by 1/3, if it is not done again, it will be more expensive to solve the clear material. Little master, I'll give you 1 million star coins. You can directly transfer this wool to me. I'll pay 1.2 million. 1.5 million. In just a few minutes, the wool material of this 30,000 star coin has fully multiplied 50 times, which is the same as the price of buying a whole piece of half-gambling wool material. Bai Jing did not agree and continued to dissolve the stone. After about 10 minutes, the surrounding gravel was cleaned up, revealing the complete shape of the jadeite. This is a hemispherical hibiscus jadeite, about half the size of a football, and weighs 6.2 kilograms. The whole piece of jadeite is very transparent, as moist as water, as elegant as hibiscus flower, without a trace of impurities in the whole body, and its purity is no less than that of ice seeds. A touch of green radiates from the inside, not as strong and bright as the sun green, but more like the tender leaves swept by the spring breeze. Its color is pure and soft. The overall color is uniform, and the texture is delicate and moist. If it is compared with people, it is like the gentle, beautiful, and moving of Jiangnan women. Wang Ping couldn't see his eyes when he smiled, and immediately hung the firecrackers at the door. Just listening to the crackling sound, people in other booths put down the wool in their hands and ran here, wanting to cheer up. Looking at this elegant and pure jadeite, everyone's hearts are filled with love and excitement. The little fat man Jin Mao looked at Bai Jing as if he was looking at a god. He unraveled the hibiscus jadeite from a piece of scrap. Who else was there besides his brother Jing? Little master, I will buy this jadeite with 2 million stars. I'll pay 2.5 million. 3 million. 4 million. I will give out 4 million. When everyone saw it, wasn't this the wool merchant who didn't even give out 60,000 star coins and didn't believe what he said? I didn't buy 60,000 star coins just now, and now I spend 4 million. TSK. It really deserves it. The price of 4 million is a high price for this hibiscus jadeite, and other wool dealers did not continue to bid. Bai Jing planned to sell it, but suddenly remembered the agreement signed with Gu. He remembered that there was a stipulation in the agreement that Gu had the right of first refusal to buy the wool. Apologizing to the onlookers, Bai Jing used the light brain to initiate communication under the shield of the stonecutter, and at the same time turned on the sound shielding device on the side. Communication was established within seconds. Bai Jing didn't expect to be connected so quickly. Looking at the mature and beautiful face of the other party, he was stunned for a moment before saying, I sold hibiscus jadeite in Gambling Street. Do you want to priority acquisition? Gu Yuanchao's sharp facial features softened obviously. A smile flashed in his black eyes, and he said warmly without waiting for Bai Jing to finish speaking, Is it a gift for me? Thank you, Jing. However, you can auction this hibiscus seed by yourself. In the future, if you find a high ice seed or a glass seed, I will buy it from you in my own name. Seemingly feeling that there was ambiguity in his words, Gu Yuanchao immediately added, Because my mecha level is high, I can only use top-quality jade as energy, and hibiscus is also very good, just not suitable for my mecha? Will this make Bai Jing sad? Bai Jing nodded, I understand, then I will auction it directly. Gu Yuanchao looked at the black screen, filled with annoyance. Could Bai Jing be angry? Did his words just hurt the self-esteem of the young man? The only heir of the Gu family, the youngest major general in the empire, and young Master Gu, who has always been decisive in killing things, looked at Guangnao for the first time in a daze. In the end, the 6.2 kilograms hibiscus jadeite was auctioned for 4 million. In the star coins in Beijing Guangnao's account also changed from 1.7 million to 5.7 million. Some of the onlookers dispersed, but more and more people came here to pick wool, all trying to get lucky. Bai Jing gave up the position to Master Xieshur again, and came to Jin Mao and Jin Mao with the piece of leather-green jade. Jin Mao looked at Bai Jing with stars shining in his eyes. Fuck, brother Jing, you are so awesome. Tell me, how did you see the jade in that scrap? Bai Jing was helpless. No, the piece of scrap was in my hand just now, and I saw scattered pine flowers at the bottom, and I felt that it could be gambled to a certain extent. In addition, the attitude of the wool merchant was really too much, so I thought of giving it a try. He was telling the truth, but it made sense to conceal part of the fact that he detected wool with his senses. Jin Mao also became indignant when he thought of the scene just now. That's right, that profiteer not only doesn't count, but has always been angry. But, he smiled. It was so relieved just now. I was reluctant to give up 60,000 star coins before, but in the end, I didn't spend 4 million star coins to buy it back, and it turned over nearly 70 times. It is estimated that my intestines are going to regret it. Even Ngu showed a happy smile. It is normal for businessmen to focus on profits, but it is too sloppy to fall into trouble when others are gambling down.